Imagine a dark world filled with secrets, where journalists meet the unknown and truth merges with fiction. In San Francisco, 1994, one of the greatest tales of immortality, pain, and blood begins. Here starts the legend of Interview with the Vampire. Now, let us dive together into the depths of this story. In the heart of San Francisco in 1994, there was a young journalist named Daniel, sitting in a dimly lit room. Before him sat a man, elegant and calm, yet with strange, unsettling features. Daniel asked this man to tell him the story of his life so he could publish it in newspapers and on the radio, because he felt there was a tale behind him that would capture people's attention. When he asked him about his profession, the man answered quietly, "I am a vampire." Daniel laughed, thinking he was joking, but the man, whose name was Louis, asked him to turn on the light to see the truth. The moment Daniel looked, he was shocked Louis's face was pale and unnatural. From that instant, Daniel believed he was indeed sitting with a real vampire. And Louis began to tell his story. More than 200 years ago, he had been an ordinary man, wealthy, and the owner of a large plantation in New Orleans. Though his life was comfortable, he lived in deep sorrow after the death of his wife and daughter. He longed for death, unable to bear their absence. He wandered in taverns and roamed the streets like a ghost, unafraid of death, rather seeking it. One night, someone was watching him, a vampire named Lestat. While a thief threatened Louis with a knife to steal his money, Lestat saved him, killing the thief, and then approached him, biting him. He said, "Do you want death? Or was what I did enough?" Then he left him staggering between life and death. Louis returned to his mansion exhausted, only to find Lestat waiting for him, promising him happiness and eternal life without pain. After an inner struggle, Louis agreed, and that was the last time he ever saw the sunrise. That night, Lestat returned and transformed him into a vampire. The film features a grand cast: Tom Cruise as Lestat, Brad Pitt as Louis, and Christian Slater as Daniel. Louis awoke to discover his senses had become heightened, his strength unmatched. He told Daniel that the legends about wooden stakes and holy water were mere myths, but coffins were indeed necessary for sleep. Emerging from his coffin, thirsting for blood, Louis was guided by Lestat on how to choose and kill his victims. Yet Louis retained part of his humanity, refusing to kill humans, while Lestat enjoyed it mercilessly. Louis survived on the blood of animals, rejecting human prey. Lestat, meanwhile, dragged him to aristocratic parties to hunt victims. When Louis failed to kill a woman and instead killed her dogs, a heated argument erupted between him and Lestat, who deemed him weak. Things worsened when Louis accidentally killed the servant Yvette, unable to resist his thirst. Trying to conceal it failed, as the slaves rose up around the mansion. He emerged, carrying her body, declaring the house cursed and himself the devil incarnate, before freeing them all. Lestat never forgave him for this weakness, continually pressing him to travel to Paris for a better life. But fate intervened when Louis met a little girl named Claudia, weeping beside her dead mother's body. Unable to stop himself, he bit her, nearly killing her, until Lestat intervened, deciding to save her by turning her into a vampire. Thus, the child Claudia entered their lives, portrayed brilliantly by the young Kirsten Dunst at only 11 years old, earning her an Oscar nomination. She quickly learned everything and killed with a ferocity surpassing adults. Yet she loved Louis more than Lestat, finding safety with him. Years passed, and Claudia realized she would never grow. Her body remained imprisoned in childhood, while her mind matured. She rebelled against Lestat, hating him for trapping her in this eternal curse. She plotted revenge, offering him 2 dead boys after drugging them, forcing him to drink the blood of corpses. With the thrust of a blade, she ended his life, or so she thought. They threw his body into the swamp and traveled to Europe in search of their kind. But Lestat wasn't dead. He returned to haunt them, more terrifying than before. Louis set him ablaze along with the mansion, fleeing with Claudia. In Paris, they met a mysterious vampire named Armand, played by Antonio Banderas. He took them to the Theatre des Vampires, where vampires slaughtered their victims before audiences, disguised as theatrical acts of horror. Louis discovered a new world of vampires, but found no salvation there. When Claudia decided she needed a mother, she turned a woman named Madeleine into a vampire. But this decision sealed her fate. Vampires attacked, imprisoning Louis in a coffin, while leaving Claudia and Madeleine to face the sun. Claudia died in Madeleine's arms, in one of cinema's most heartbreaking scenes. Armand rescued Louis from the coffin, but Louis never forgave him. He returned to avenge Claudia, burning the Theatre des Vampires and decapitating them with a guillotine until none survived. Yet he refused to stay with Armand, seeing his betrayal clearly. Years passed, and Louis remained alone until he returned to America, where he encountered Lestat, once more frail, weakened, unable to bear the noise of the modern world. Lestat begged him to stay, but Louis refused. Back with journalist Daniel, Louis confessed that his emotions had died with Claudia. But Daniel, awed by the story, asked Louis to turn him into a vampire. Louis grew enraged, revealing his terrifying visage before vanishing. Daniel fled in panic, only to find Lestat waiting in his car, biting him, and offering the same choice he once gave Louis: death or eternal life by his side. Driving the car himself, he played the interview tape, announcing his return once more, fully adapted to the modern age. You may think vampires are nothing but myths woven by cinema. Yet the film whispers that darkness is always near us, in shapes and faces we least expect. So, has the story truly ended? Or does the darkness never end? That was the summary of Interview with the Vampire.